there again. We're there Thursday morning. What are you doing on a Thursday morning? On a Thursday morning, you're listening to the Message Talk Show with host Alex Gordon. It's the only thing you do on a Thursday morning. Well, at least that's what I want to believe. That's the only thing you're doing on a Thursday morning. So let me introduce you to my special guest today. I have an amazing person here. She's been traveling for the past 20 years just to get on this show, just to be in this moment. She is ready. Wow, well, she said she's had a bit of nerves going on. So let me tell you, folks, being nervous is okay. Being nervous means that you're ready for something special. So, hey, let me just jump you in to the intro. Guys, I'll see you in a minute.
The Message Talk Show is back again, back.
So I'm welcoming you once again to the Message Talk Show on Thursday morning. Hey, it's an awesome day. It's a lovely day. You know why? Because you woke up this morning. You know, sometimes when people say to me, how are you today, Alex? I say to them, hey, I got up this morning. And as long as I'm up, I can change everything else. And sometimes they give me such a puzzled look. They're expecting me to say something else. But hey, in the midst of what we're going through, guys, don't worry about anything else. As long as you're awake, you can change everything around you. Am I right, Rachelle?
That's correct. That's correct.
That's correct. Hey,
that's the mindset.
Hey, it's the mindset. Hey, see, she's ready. She is fine-tuned. She is ready to say something this morning. So let me just begin by saying, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Message Talk Show. We believe that passionate, mission-centered individuals are the ones that are going to bring change in our world, are the ones that are going to bring change to our community. So if you're a business person, if you're an entrepreneur, if you just have the idea, just seeming out of you, make connection with me, make connection with the Message Talk Show, because we help you go from unknown to unforgettable. That's what you want. You want to be unforgettable. When you impact people's hearts and minds, you want them to remember you even 40 years. Hey, we've been talking about Martin Luther King for the past 40 years of our lives. And we speak as though the one speech that we remember, it's as though he only gave that one speech. I have a dream. I have a dream. But it wasn't the one speech he gave, but it's one that he's been remembered for. Unforgettable. But you know what? When Martin Luther King spoke about I have a dream, he wasn't dreaming about a big car. He wasn't dreaming about a big house. He was dreaming about change. He was bringing about change in the hearts of his people, change in the community, change in their lives, change to make them better persons, step into their better self. That's what he was dreaming about. And today we're talking about change, how to keep change alive. We've been going through so many things about change. But before we go, here's what I want to say to you. Get your glass of water. Get your cup of coffee, get your cup of tea, get in, then press the share button, call your mates, call your friends, and tell them Alex Gordon is on the Message Talk Show. So you need to tune in. All right, so press the share button now. Press the subscribe button now. Do it now. Do it now. Do it now. Okay? All right, so you've got that part. You've got that part done. So you've done your bit. So Thursdays, 11 o'clock, you tune into the Message Talk Show, and we're talking about change. We're talking about change. We have been in the midst of what we call a pandemic, a situation where we've had people dying around us, people ill, people's lives have been at risk. And in the midst of that, we had the George Floyd event right across the States, into the rest of the world, talking about change, talking about people's lives mattering, talking about the consciousness that everyone's life matter. But for some reason, Black lives have been suffering in some way, shape, or form across the world. And people are now saying we've had enough. We've had enough. So today we have in-house a lady by the name of Rachelle Morris Peart. Now let me read the profile of this lady before we start talking, because this is awesome. Okay, say hello, Rachelle.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you. Well, I can't see you, but nice for you to join us this morning.
Hey, see? Nice for you to join us this morning. Rachelle Peart is a school teacher by profession. Born and raised in the island of Jamaica, She grew up in a lovely place in London called Tottenham. She is the NEU rep for BLM and sits on a panel as an academy equality and diversity representative. She's a published author, The Writings on the Wall, and she owns Rachelle's Pampering Gifts, which provides personalized gift hampers and cards for the Christian community. This lady is not just a CEO, not just an activist, but she's at the heart of changing the lives of the youngest generation around us. You know, I've often said this, that if you want to change people's lives, start with the young people. Start with the young people. When you change their mindsets and their minds, things happen all over the world. So, Rachelle, what does change mean to you? What does change mean to you, Rachelle?
Oh my God. Change for me in this season is a period of transformation. That's my go-to word. That's my buzzword at the moment. It's transformation. Change is action. Something has to happen for change to happen. You have to get up and do something. Yeah. Change has an element. You have to shift. There's a shift going. You have to adapt. I have this saying, and it's like my little mantra that I live by. I don't know where I picked it up, but it's adapt, roll, and stay in control. So when you are changing, you are adapting to the current situation. Yes, the pandemic is on. Yes, there's a lot of things going on. But you know what? You can't roll up in the corner. You can't die. You have to keep going. You have to adapt. And change means you're adjusting to the situation around. You might have to switch some things. You might have to move a little bit, you know, but change is that for me right now. My thing is change is to transform.
Wow, change is to transform. Now, when I hear the word transform, I'm always thinking about the caterpillar.
Yes.
Going from one state to another. The
Yes.
form that the caterpillar is in, it's creeping on the ground and even likely to get stepped on. But suddenly that caterpillar becomes a butterfly.
Yes.
And when it becomes a butterfly, it flies. It beautifies the earth, man. And it performs its function. So, Rachelle, tell me, what was it like growing up as a young person in London?
As a young person in London, first and foremost, I had to adapt. I had to change because I came from an environment where I grew up in Jamaica. You know, I came to this country at the age of 14. So I had to adjust to their way of life, you know, the way of life, how people talk. I came from a place where I'm talking patois, like full stop. Yes, I went to high school. Yes, I'm versed in English, but that wasn't my main and my go-to language, you know. So I had to adapt to how to come from a Caribbean background and adapting to the school life first and foremost. But yeah, I had loads of friends here around in my community. We used to do like little things that would meet up on the wall, you know, and would have like hangouts, you know, would go to the empty flats and we'll just chill out, you know, do a little bit of nonsense, a little bit of badness, but not much, you know. We had fun. First and foremost, we just had fun. And, you know, I've touched base with some of my old friends, you know, from, I call it the ends, you know, we've touched base recently and we just reminisce over the past times, you know, and how much fun, how much different life was like as a young person to what it's like now.
Wow. So even though you're in the heart of London, doing what you do, enjoying life with your friends, and from that you went to university.
I did, yes. So I went to university. My first degree is in business. For some reason, I do gravitate towards business. I think it is my first love in terms of a career. So yeah, I did business administration at the University of Hertfordshire. That was my first kind of postgraduate qualification.
And as a young person, how do you then interpret, because as you said, you came from a different environment. So you come from the island of Jamaica, which is so different. Life is so different. All right. Life is so different. You have your mother culture around you. Suddenly you're immersed into the UK, a different environment. You're adapting, you're changing, you're seeing things for the very first time. and you're probably at some point experienced what we call racism. Am I correct?
Yes, I have. I've experienced institutionalized racism.
What form did that take? What form did that take? How did it happen?
So when I studied, because then my second postgraduate was a teaching qualification, a PGCE. And to be honest with you, on the course itself, there was only myself and another Black lady, which I to this day keep in contact with. She was a more mature lady, you know, she had accomplished. I was still in my 20s. And there was only us two as, you know, Black representatives, you know, keeping the Blackness alive, so to speak. So got qualified. It wasn't really easy because it was an intense year's course. So I had to give up my job. I had a very young son at the time. I look back and I thought, oh my God, he wasn't even 2 yet when I started requalifying as a teacher. So I had that. I had to be a mummy, had to keep food on the table, so to speak, and go to uni, you know, full time. So then qualified, you know, got my first job, which was a temporary role. That job I'd finished. And then I went into my first kind of like permanent teaching position where I was a newly qualified teacher. And to be honest with you, I was like dancing through it, you know, I kind of bring a certain vibe wherever I go. So yeah, I got on with people. I was doing my job. I was doing what I needed to do. And boom, smack bang in the middle of so we started in September. Come like February, the vibe kind of changed, you understand? Like there were certain elements that I was exposed to. I'm thinking, this is not right. What is going on? I was doing quite well. I was signed off at this level. I'm signed off here. Why now are you telling me that I'm on the verge of failing my first year? And to be honest with you, when you qualify as a teacher, you have to go through to almost like, it's called a newly NQT, it's a newly qualified teacher. You have to go for another year before they kind of sign you off and say you're legitimate. You can go on and do your own thing now. You can go where you want to go, do what you want to do as a teacher. So now I'm on the verge of failing, and I'm like, how did this happen? It just happened in an instant. So then I had to seek kind of like advice from my union and stuff. I got a bit stressed, and I know a lot of people get to a position like this where they're, okay, do I stay in this job and have, you know, I'm on the verge of failing, I could fail. This could mean that all I've worked for up to this point could go to waste. So basically, I had to rethink. I took some time off, went back to work, and it was the same pressure. I thought, no, this ain't right. It's not right. I'm just going to have to kind of, and I don't like quitting. I never liked quitting in my life. I hold on, and I hold on. But the pressure and the demand was too much. And I do believe in hindsight, having to speak to people, you know, having seen people who were there before in the institution or in the organization, in the school, it was really organized racism, I would say, basically. And I wasn't the first to succumb to that. And I wasn't the last, because soon after I left, the only few other Black people I knew there, they kind of packed their bags and they left as well.
So when you say it was organized racism, what do you mean? It was organized because you were different? What was it?
It was very discreet. It's like the school I first worked at, there was 97% Black children, and maybe 3% of the staff was Black. And this was in the heart of Tottenham. So it's like, yeah, come and work for us. You know, we adopted equality policy. We welcome, you know, people of all races to work, because you have to do that as a tick box, you know, as an organization. You have to be representative. I mean, if you're in the heart of Tottenham, you've got 97% Black children. You can't just have a fully white staff. You know, it just doesn't look good, you know, especially with Ofsted and everybody else that's going to be knocking at your door. So yes, we're invited, but when we're there, we're put under such pressure. You're like, why did you give me this job if this is what you were going to put me into? Like, I'd rather not take the job than to be put in such a position where I feel like I really can't cope. Do you understand? It was really insurmountable pressure.
Wow. So they weren't very supportive at all.
No, not at all.
So what made you go into teaching? What triggered you to go into teaching? Was it someone that you saw as a teacher, or what was it?
Well, I've got a passion for knowledge, for imparting knowledge. What I know, I like to pass on. And I thought to myself, oh, I've learned this, I've learned that, I need my brain to be functioning to the capacity where I'm passing that on now to the next generation. I wanted to kind of make a difference. I wanted to be inspirational, or what you do, and yes, I've had inspirational teachers in my lifetime. To this day I sing about them. My what you call kindergarten, we call it preschool, whatever you call it, but Mrs. Spence, she's not alive anymore. She was the kind of first kind of like directive of teacher influence in my life. You had Mrs. Young, who taught me in primary school. She's just like a on-point teacher, and I'd never be a teacher like them, and I never dreamed of becoming a teacher. I always wanted to work in the banking industry. I wanted to do accounting, pack my bags early, because in Jamaica the banks close early. So I said, I'm just gonna pack bags early and go home. Not knowing actually that when the banks close to the public, there's stuff that you need to do behind. So yes, I did work in the banking industry for a short period after I left the university, but I didn't enjoy it. It was just not me. So yes, to go back, I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to impart knowledge when I got into teaching.
Wow. So, and that's still quite a large portion of your life, wanting to make a difference, wanting to impact people's lives, wanting to cause change. Now, is that a reason for you connecting with BLM?
I think definitely so. Even if I go back, even before I got into teaching, growing up in Tottenham again, I was exposed to youth clubs. So I'd attend a youth club at church on a Monday night. We'll call it Monday Club because that's just when it was held. So when we went to Monday Club, and then we'd have holiday clubs and all of that. So when I grew up in my teens and then in my 20s, I started to give back. So I'd volunteer for the Monday Club, I'd volunteer for holiday club and all of that jazz. So again, when I was in school, I volunteered as a youth journalist. So then I was always kind of in a realm where I'm giving back to young people, and I'm working in that voluntary realm. So I think that kind of helped to steer my position in terms of working with children and young people. I've kind of always done that now, actually, when I think about it, from teenage years, and I'm now in my 30s. I've always been working. So yes, when you see things happen in life, and when you, for example, to be a mother, and you look retrospectively of what the support system that you had in place and things like that, you're thinking, I want more. I want more for my children. I want more for my friends' children. I want more for my neighbors' children. I want more for the children that are around me and the young people. So yes, whilst I at one point thought, my job as a teacher is demanding, or I can't be a parent governor, for example, I can't sit on a board of a school. Like now I'm actively pursuing that. Like I had the opportunity to sit on the governing board before, and I said, you know what, it's too stressful, I can't do it. But I'm like, this is the time where we need to get active.
Wow.
This is the time where we need to now be in a position where things, to impact change, or to make change happen. Because we can't just say, we're going to hold up a placard. Yes, that's all good. Yes, we're going to march. That's all good. But that's a starting point. But where does the next bit, what does that lead to? Now we have to get involved. Now we have to sit on panels. Now we have to sit on boards. We have to be we have to be in a position where we're now in parliament. Like I've never thought of going into politics, but the research I've been doing is just been a little bit deep. And I'm like, oh my days. We need to be represented. And it's not just a now thing that I thought of that. It's a before now thing. But now I'm like, oh my God, who gives us a say if you're not represented, basically?
Wow. Rachelle, you feel the calling, Rachelle. You can feel the parliamentary calling there. Rachelle, you're homing in on something there. You want to cause change. You want to drive change. But you realize you have to come to the table. You have to sit at the table where decisions are made.
Yeah,
That was a
certainly.
quote I had some time ago from Dr. Rachelle Carr. She said, "You have to sit at the table where decisions
Hmm.
are made in order to cause change."
Amen. Yeah.
So let's
Yeah.
connect you back with the Black Lives Matter organization. Why did you connect with them?
So, I'm as a teacher, we're part of the NEU, so the National Education Union, and they send out regular communication. They're hot on equality. They're hot on like Black Lives Matter at the moment. So they sent out a link to say, you know what, we're going on Zoom. We're going to have a chat. Reverend Jesse Jackson was going to be on. Diane Abbott, the CEO, so to speak, of the union. So yeah, they just invited teachers and support staff to have a conversation. And from there, I thought, oh, it was just a very, very powerful conversation that we had. And I thought, yeah, something else needs to be done. It's like, what next? You know, yes, we've had a conversation again, but what next? So then the union, so to speak, they gave us our options. Okay, we've had a meeting. What are you going to do next? So I felt challenged and I felt led to say, okay, yes, I'll get involved. And that's where we're at the moment. I'm involved stage now. So yes, this is a place where we can now have certain conversations. We're now invited to the table. Yes, I can be a part of making change happen, if that makes sense.
Wow, that's amazing. Because we just had a word from your fan club. You got a fan club out there, Rachelle. And what Maxine Clark says, yes, so true. And then Velma has come and said, conscious words.
Wow.
Your words are conscious words. And Tracy has now said, so true, Rachelle. We need to be strategically positioned to influence change for good.
Yes.
That is so true. We need to be strategically positioned to influence change for good, not change for the bad, but change for good, to make things happen,
Yeah.
And so, what are the three key things that you think that that we need to do to change or to keep change alive?
To keep change alive, we have to change our mindset. You know, change your mindset. It starts in the mind. Do you understand? I went through a radical change, bodily change, transformation in the last over a year now. And I thought I needed to get my mind in that position. Do you understand? And during lockdown, I've locked in to getting my mind right. And the physical changes that I've seen has manifested into my spiritual life. It's manifested into my career. It's manifested in all areas. And it started with my mind. So you have to start with thinking about it, but that's the first step. Reconditioning your mind to change. And then you have to think about, I believe wholeheartedly where the Bible says, write the vision. So you need to write it down. I love writing. I love vision boards. I've got a vision board app now. I love writing down things. I write lists. I've got a to-do list for a to-do list for a to-do list. Do you understand? And not a to-do list only. I have if I could show you, I couldn't right now because it's in a place. It is a massive book, and it's a book of goals, like daily, weekly. You know, what are your targets? What are you doing? What are your long-term objectives and aims? So change your mindset, write the vision, and then you have to take action. You can't just sit there. You know, faith without works is dead, 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 dead. Do you understand? True. You have to activate it. There has to be a determination to now make the vision an action. So those are my three things about what people must do.
So let me bring out the poet that's inside of you, because you talked about poems. So let me just bring out the poet that's inside of you. You said you're a poet and you love the poetry, and here's one of your poems. Change takes a caterpillar of yesterday and turns it into the butterfly. Wow. That's what you mean about transformation. Am I correct?
Yes, it is totally a process. It's, it has to go through a process, and I have a book. I know you're going to mention the book in a minute. It's just like I was just trying to get ready for preempting what you're going to come next with. I have a poem called God's Transformation Process. I could give you a little bit of it if you want right now.
Go on. Hey, just take. Don't
This is on page 15 of my book, The Writings on the Wall.
Okay, hold it up so we can see it. Come on, hold it up.
The Writings on the Wall.
Okay,
yeah.
Wonderful.
So it's God's transformation process. It says, like olive being pressed into oil, like gold being refined, so the Lord, our God, presses to purify us. Like bronze expanding before it sets, so the Lord, our God, stretches us to fill in the finest details. Like silver, he separates us from others so he can see us in our purest forms. Like grapes being produced into wine, so he extracts all the goodness within us to make the finest and purest and most tasteful. Like carbon being pressed into diamond, so he applies intense pressure to make us rise. Like a volcano, making the most beautiful and unbreakable gem of character. You see, our most valuable parts of our beings have been through a process. Our spirits are being refined by the blood of Jesus. This is God working in and through us, a work in progress, WIP. He is creating and molding us to be the very best. You know what? I'm just going to stop there. If you want the rest, get the book.
If you want the rest, hold up the book. Come on, hold up the book there. Let's just see the book again. Writings on the Wall. We just had a prelude of Writings on the Wall. Bring the book a bit closer. Come on, push it out so we can see it. Hey, awesome, man. Awesome. That's author Rachelle Morris Peart sharing her thoughts, sharing her beliefs, sharing her passion for where she sees change needs to happen. And she strongly believes that we need to be at the table, even so much so that she's now talking about becoming a representative in Parliament. I haven't heard that.
No, I support those who are there. I know there's a wonderful man at the moment. He's a black man. He's a Christian man, and he's going for mayor of London. So I'm behind him. At the moment, it's not my portion.
Wow.
Not my portion. But yeah, I do believe there are people that are called in that capacity. And, you know, as black people, as people of ethnic minority, as people that are underrepresented, you know, Christians, sometimes we think politics can't mix with Christianity, you know, but we need to sit at the table, so to speak. We need to have a place, you know. They do say where dogs are not invited, bones are not provided. It's a Jamaican saying. But we need to, in the Bible, the woman at the table, she said, I'd eat up the scraps. Hey. You know, give me the scraps, you know. But we don't want just a scrap. We want a big bite.
Here she goes again about being representative in Parliament. Hey, just watch out for this young lady. For 3-4 years from now, you'll probably see her in Parliament helping to make decisions. Now, here's a question we have from the public. Today's question: what inspired your poetry?
Nature. So a lot of my poetry has come from either me walking and talking with God or just being still before God. I never actually sit down and say, I'm going to write a poem now. I go out, God speaks through me through nature. I write it down. I have to write it then and there, otherwise it'll just go. Or I'm meditating on a scripture. So all my poems are based on, well, I've gone back and I've married them up with scripture because they all kind of got that kind of divine alignment, so to speak. So the scriptures does inspire me to write, and nature and God speaking to me. Wow. Hence the writings on the wall, because you just see it happening.
Wow. So some people call it God, some people call it spirit, some people call it gut feel. But what you're getting is a download from somewhere, a download from the heavens.
Yes,
your spirit. Am I correct?
Yes, from the heavens above. Yeah.
Hey, a download. And that fuels everything you do and everything you see around you.
Yeah, certainly.
That is so powerful.
Yeah.
That is so powerful. So, Rachelle, what kind of changes would you like to see in your lifetime, Rachelle?
In my lifetime, I would dream to see a world full of love because, love activates everything. Love is the foundation of everything. If love gets in, then a lot of these things that we have will disappear. Hate will disappear, crime will disappear. Grievance and hatred and racism and all of these things. If we love one another, yes, I love.
But you make it sound so simple. If we love one another, Rachelle, we're supposed to. Even in the best of families, where they're supposed to love each other, they're still having strife and they're still having difficulty. How do we get to that point?
Love covers a multitude of sins. I don't have to like you, but I have to love you. At the end of the day, we might have a little bit of a tither, we might have a little bit of a confrontation. We speak out of love. We rebuke people out of love. Do you understand? So even if me and you have we've clashed, the Bible does say again, don't let the sun go down on your wrath. Yes, it's okay to be angry. Yes, we're going to fall out, but there's a time of coming back together. Like recently, me and my mum fell out. I did some things that I should have done. We've been seeing too much of each other lately, and we're from the same star sign, and we get on like a house on fire when we're ready. So I did. You've
been seeing too much of your mom. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. In lockdown, being a bubble and all that. So I did something that I shouldn't have done, and then I tried to be wrong and strong at the same time. I said, "Well, you shouldn't have been doing this," and and then she came at me, and we went, "Ooh!" And then you know what? I said, "Breathe. This ain't gonna go nowhere by me carrying on how I'm carrying on." Do you understand? And it wasn't carrying on in a bad way, but I said, "You know what? I'm not gonna rise up to your level. I'm just gonna leave it there." But what I did go back and said, "You know what? I was wrong. I was wrong to have done what I did." Do you understand? And then I said, furthermore, there's been a miscommunication. You misinterpreted what I said on the back of what I said, and you thought I spoke out of a place of anger. You thought, and then we were good again. She's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry to say what I said." And by the time I reach home, she's like, "When you coming back?" So everything, love covers everything.
Hey.
With proper morals and values in the society, strongly believe, if we go back to a place of the foundation where we're coming from as a Christian nation, if we go back to some of those morals and values and incorporate that in love, I think the world will be a different place. I think change will come,
Wow. Sandra says, yes, bring the vision alive and walk in faith.
Amen.
Sue Rose says, great, that's correct. And whoever Laura is, she hasn't got a picture there. Wow, really enjoying your interview. I totally believe in changing your own mindset. Beautiful things can stem from that. Wow, you have a following out there, Rachelle.
Well,
these are your voters. These are your voters. When you go into Parliament, they'll be supporting you. And lastly, we have you're in such an influential position to promote love and empower others to love, and that is so true. You are in such an important position working with young people to help them work through some of the challenges that they may have in their own mindsets, in their own families. And so you are virtually influencing the next generation.
Yeah, you're correct there, Alex. But sometimes I haven't always seen that. I've kind of, in teaching, I've kind of been like a bit of a Jonah. I've tried to run. I've tried to come out. I took another year where I'm like, I am actively coming out of this profession. I want out. It's too hard, too difficult. Can't do this. But something keeps pulling me back. And it's, having these conversations and sitting down and speaking to you when you're telling me that actually you're going out, you're doing public speaking every day. I'm like, oh my days, you're absolutely right. I am in a position, but it's something that I think sometimes myself and others may take for granted. Like, yes, we're out there to do a job. We're there to teach maths, English, science, and geography, and whatever it is. But we're in such an influential position. And, it is about going back to the throne of God and say, God, like, what do you want me to do with this position that you have granted me? It's not about me saying, yeah, I want to pack it in. Do what you've come in the position or in the career to do, basically. And when it's your time, God will let you know, and you can vacate
Let me
Yeah.
quote you. Let me bring up one of your quotes. This is one of your quotes, right? Let me bring up one of your quotes. If I can just get it to add to the stream. It says, effective living requires being flexible. It involves adapting, changing, and shifting. Hey, this is your quote. Effective living requires adapting, living, and shifting and changing.
Yeah, I borrow a lot of quotes sometimes. And I've got this nice little quote app that I've recently discovered. So I put everything in there. Sometimes I hashtag people on, who said what. But yeah, definitely it has to be. And I know you might ask me this, you might not ask me this again, Alex, but this was one of the things that you posed to be like, is change depending on age?
Oh,
Yes.
the next question. You preempted me.
Yes and no.
Age dependent.
Yes and no. Again, in Jamaica, they've got a saying that says old ways die hard. And I know my granny that raised me. She's like, she stuck her heels in. She ain't changing for nobody. And I know that's not proper grammar right now. Like, she knows what she knows. She does what she's done. She's living the life that she lives. But it's not to say that if you're old, you can't change. It's just harder for you to do it. But what do you have to do? You have to want it. You have to position your mind. You have to be actively doing that. So yes, it is age dependent, but yet I know it's not, because nothing is impossible. If you have the determination to change, you can. How many 90-year-olds, I mean, you've only seen a few, but on Facebook, on YouTube, you see doing all the exercise, having looking fit in an ass, running marathons and all of that. It's never too late to change, you just have to actively pursue that and have that determination to do that, and just adapt, roll, and stay in control.
Adapt, roll, and stay in control. Adapt, roll, and stay in control. I can see the next book coming out of you. There is no way you're not writing another book. There is no way you're not pushing out another book at some point. So Tracy is now asking, I really want a copy of your book, Rachelle.
Yeah.
How can I order it?
Okay, so my book, at the moment, you can get e-copies, so you can get the downloadable copies on Amazon. I think Amazon has gone out of the physical copies, but I have personal physical copies, just a few more, and Amazon are doing the downloadable, so to your iPad and things like that, in that format. Okay,
just give us your email address then.
Okay, I've got a few, so I've got to think about this one.
the one where they can get a copy of the book. They can email you and you can make contact to get a copy of the book.
Okay, so it is Rachelle. Are you going to write this down?
Yeah, I'm going to write it down. Spell that for me.
CHA.
Yeah.
YE.
Yeah.
LL.
Yeah.
E.
Yeah.
Hold on. Pampering, as in pamper yourself.
Yeah.
At Hotmail.
Yeah.
.co.
Yeah.
.uk.
Okay. So we've got the book, and I'll put that up in a minute. Now, yeah, you know how sometimes good things come to an end, and you're enjoying yourself so much now, and we're looking at the time and we're saying time is upon us. But before we go, Rachelle, now imagine you're on stage now speaking. You're speaking. You're out there talking. You're the motivational speaker you want to be. You're the inspirational speaker you want to be, and you're talking to a generation of young people. You've got their attention for the next 20, 30 seconds. What would you say to that generation right now?
Change starts with you. It starts with a growth mindset. There's a lot on about growth mindset at the moment. Write down the vision, be determined in what you want to do, and take action. Like, rise up. Like, one of my favorite songs at the moment is I Rise Up. It's not a Christian song, but I just love the message. You rise up, and you do it 1,000 times again. So you fall down, you trip up, you mess up, but get back up, adapt, roll, and stay in control. Whatever life throws at you, use it, don't abuse it, use it, and make it be a better you. Yeah. So yeah, just keep going. Keep going.
Just keep going. So I've put the email address up so people can get a copy of the book, Writings on the Wall.
Yeah,
Shayelle
I'm
Pampering
sorry.
at hotmail.co.uk.
Sorry, there's an edit there. So it's Shayelle's Pampering at Hotmail. So there's an S after the just before the pampering.
There's an error there. There is an S just after Shayelle's Pampering. And I left the
Yeah,
S out. So I apologize there, guys. I was
that's
just running
okay.
on the fly there. Rachelle, thank you so much for coming in on the show today, for joining
Thank
us
you.
today, for spending the time, for even putting those quotes out. I was empowered by you sending the quotes, because I just
Yes.
thought that you took so much thought into what you were doing. You know,
Thank you, Alex.
Sorry?
No, I'm just saying thank you. It's been such a pleasure. I was really nervous to start with, and like any good teacher, one needs to prepare. So I had to go and do my research. You know, I've been meditating over it for some time now. You know, I had to study. I had to think about what change means to me. But yes, you know, it's been such a pleasure. I was a nervous wreck before, but being with you, sitting with you at your table has certainly been a delight. And it's just put me in a position where I'm relaxed, and yes, onwards and upwards now.
Well, your last quote says, to live is to go through changes.
Yes.
We are only living when we go through
When we
changes.
change, when we're
Change
changing.
is constant. Change never stops.
Yes.
Change makes us the people we become, or we want to
Amen.
become. We can never
Amen.
stand still and think that change is not going to happen. And what we've seen in the pandemic, if anybody had told us a year ago that the whole economy could work from home and even go to church on Zoom, if someone had told us that and we had to plan for it, we'd probably spend the next 5 years planning for this one event. But in the midst of change, all of a sudden, we had to adapt for our lives. We had to adapt. We had to shift and adapt and bring the change into our lives. And now a large portion of the economy is working from home, connecting from home. Companies are now thinking they're going to get rid of some of the buildings because they don't need the buildings anymore. That's what change brings.
Yeah.
And when people like yourself, Rachelle, talks about change, and so passionate about change, changing in the school system, changing people's lives elsewhere, wanting to make a difference, even in Parliament. So even if you don't get to Parliament yourself, you're going to make sure there's a generation of young people fighting their way into Parliament to bring the change that we need in our lives. And before I go, sorry, was there something you wanted to say before we go?
Yeah, I was just going to say change pushes us out of our comfort zone. So it's like that whole eagle's nest mentality, you know, push the eaglet out, you know, and like the late Dr. Miles Monroe said, and I live by this. I want to die empty. I don't want to go back to my grave with all of what God has put inside of me. I want to push all of it out before I leave this earth. And that's, again, what I'd encourage every young person to do. So, yes.
Hey, so Rachelle, we're sure you're going to live for another 50 years, all right? So you're not ready to go yet, all right? You're not ready to go yet, but you have all this stuff that you want to push out. So let me go to our sponsor before we go. You are listening to the Message Talk Show and Podcast. Do you believe you have something to share? Do you believe you have something to contribute? Do you have a story to tell the world, to share with your community? Gandhi said, man often becomes what he believes himself to be. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. So join us on the Message Talk Show and Podcast with host Alex Gordon. Rachelle, it's been a pleasure having you today. You've been awesome. You've been great. You've been wonderful. And I look forward to seeing you in the powers of Parliament somewhere.
Alex, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for everyone who's tuned.
So folks, I want to thank you guys for tuning into the show today. Come back again Thursday, 11 o'clock on the Message Talk Show. Bring your friends, bring your tea, bring your coffee. And don't forget that change starts within. And according to Rachelle Morris Peart, it starts with your mind. When you change your mind, you think about it, you act upon it, you take action, and you write the vision and you make it plain. These are the words of Rachelle Morris Peart today. Who knows? A future politician. Who knows? A future prime minister. One never knows. You never know someone's potential, but you know that it's possible. Everything is possible. And let me just play you out now with my favorite tune.
Miss the show, you got to be on this show.